first Thriftway, the little brown Thriftway that everyone loves so much, that was really a boat built for an Allison. At the time it was built, Merlins were sort of a question mark. It was a very light, very, very light, fragile boat. So when they blew it up in '57, I mean, ripped a sponson off and destroyed the boat, they decided to build a new boat for 1958. And it was a boat built with the Merlin in mind. And it was so a bigger boat. It was a little bit over 30 feet long. It was much heavier. It had a fiberglass deck, which was sort of a new thing at that point. It didn't have the career that everyone hoped it would have. It won in Detroit, and it was a fast boat. It just lost its rudder in the Gold Cup and ended up hitting a Coast Guard cutter.
Here they come. They're coming on real hard. It is U.S. on the outside, just like Colonel Rushley said. Here comes Thriftway on the inside. There goes Breathless. There's the gun. So here's the race for the corner. It is U.S. on the outside. And it is Gale on the inside. And next to her is the Miss Thriftway. Now, who will be first through that corner? Muncey was a little slow getting his boat speed, but he had that inside corner where he wanted to be. Now, let's see how they go through that corner for the first time. This is the south corner of the course. On the inside, looks like Coral Reef is first through the corner. Coral Reef is first through. As they're coming out off the exit now, Gale is in second place. And the Thriftway must be buried in the spray on the outside. We don't see her. There is a boat dead in the water over there. Looks like Miss U.S. just off the corner. We'll check on it in a moment. The race is being stopped. There is Miss Thriftway, not on the beach exactly, but there she is. They have shot off the gun, stopping down the race. Now we'll have to find out what is the matter with Miss Thriftway. We don't know if Bill is in there. The Miss Pay and Save is dead just off the beach area here, about 3/4 of the way down the inland chute. A couple of boats are charging for her. Nobody's paying attention to the Miss Pay and Save. Al is standing up on the tail of his boat. The gun is going off. Coral Reef is coming down here to the 1,000-foot line. The race has been stopped down, and we'll have to check. Here is the screen. Here is the boat. Here is the boat. And where is Bill? A Coast Guard boat coming out of it. And the Coast Guard man climbing out of the crash. Ask him what it is. I don't know what it is. She evidently hit the Coast Guard cutter. There's a man coming out. Thriftway hit the Coast Guard cutter. They were evidently crowded in that turn.
1324, give us a report.
We're waiting now to hear a report from down at the scene. Here you see a skin diver going down, going into the Coast Guard cutter. The race has been stopped down. And we understand they haven't found Muncey yet. And there goes the Coast Guard boat. The Coast Guard boat has gone down. And that helicopter will land over here just to our left. Bill Muncey on the inside corner, going into the Coast Guard boat. The Coast Guard boat has gone down.
All right, this is Kurt Burton. We're over the scene of the disaster now where Miss Thriftway, driven by Wil Muncey, crashed into a Coast Guard launch. Now I have here Jim Smart with me, who is a member of the Gold Cup Committee. Would you tell me what you saw here, Jim?
I saw the Thrifty go around the corner, and evidently it looked like it lost its rudder. Muncey made a sign as if he was going to go straight ahead. And I thought for a moment he was going to miss the Coast Guard boat and hit the log boom, but instead of that he hit the Coast Guard boat broadside. The boat disintegrated and sank, and Muncey was floating in the water when we got to him. We held his head up until the copter came over, loaded him into the basket, and then he's on his way. I don't know how bad he was hurt, but he didn't look good.
Who picked the other two men out of the water?
The other two men were picked up by the Coast Guard.
They were running for the start, huh? And when it came time to start setting up for the corner, he started to set up, and it didn't happen. It just went straight. And, you know, he says he played with the throttle a little bit, he wiggled the wheel a little bit, and it didn't respond. Nothing happened. It just kept going straighter and straighter. And then he kept thinking about all the people. Oh, God, what happens if he hits the people? He was deathly afraid of that. And he said he consciously didn't steer the boat anywhere. The boat went where it went. And then he said at the very last, when he saw what was going to happen, he said what flashed through his mind was whether you stay in there and you hold on, which is going to be a disaster, or you try and jump, which is going to be a disaster at that speed too. So he said, well, just grin your teeth, bear it, and go for it.
I was coming on the straightaway on the inside on the pole, and the boat I remember being next to me was the Gale 6, I think was being driven then by Roy Doobie. I usually set up my turns about 500 feet before I get to the entrance buoy of the turn, and when I started to set up for the turn, I noticed I didn't get any reaction to the steering wheel at all, and I knew something must be wrong, so I started to wave frantically at the other drivers, hoping they could see me, that I was in trouble. And I don't know whether they saw me or not, but I could see I was heading into a group of boats, a lot of spectators. So I threw what we call a mix control in the bottom of the boat. I threw it off and stopped on the accelerator. If you throw the mix control on, that will stop the engine, but you always have a little bit left. So I felt that if I revved the engine and stopped it immediately, I would throw the boat into a broadside or maybe flip it or something so I could stop. Mm-hmm. Well, it did. It turned the boat, the torque turned the boat a little bit to the left. And, of course, I was heading for the Coast Guard boat. And so I saw I couldn't do anything else, and I didn't know where the rest of the boats were. And I got up and tried to get out, but it happened so quickly. I was running about 140, 45. I think the impact, when it occurred, I was standing up in the cockpit.
Wedged together by the impact, the Thriftway and the Coast Guard utility boat sank in less than 3 minutes in 90 feet of water. Late yesterday afternoon, the two craft were hoisted to the surface off Seward Park. The huge crane shook its cargo violently to separate the two boats. The Coast Guard boat, a 40-footer, was brought aboard the salvage vessel successfully, The Thriftway was in position to be raised, but shortly before 6 o'clock last night, the cables holding the 3-ton speedster snapped, and the Thriftway plunged back to the bottom.
And actually, he came out of that deal real well. He didn't get hurt real bad, but Stan Adsett, one of the crew guys, when they were salvaging the boat and they were lifting it up, he was standing on the deck of the Miss, and one of the lifting sling attachments to the engine stringer in the boat pulled out, and the hook came up and got Stan under the chin and tore his jaw loose, and he had a hard time over that for a long while, getting it back together again and getting patched up. But Bill, he was stomping around, and he was all right.
Interestingly enough, the boat could have been restored and rebuilt, and probably was headed towards being rebuilt at that time. But when they salvaged the boat and they were bringing it back to the dock, the lifting slings broke and they dropped it on the dock, and that's where it really sustained sort of the fatal damage. That's where the stringers were broke, and they decided that they needed yet another boat, a third Thriftway.
Welcome to Washington, D.C., the capital of our United States, and welcome, too, to the 27th running of the President's Cup Regatta here on the very windy and the very rough Potomac River in Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm Bill Muncey, and I, along with the Special Activities Division of the King Broadcasting Company, will bring you the play-by-play description of this heat, which will start pretty soon now. We anticipated 8 entries in this event. However, 2 of them were unable to appear on the race course. One of them, Miss Super Test, developed supercharger trouble, and the second one was Gale 5, which at the time in testing was being driven by Lee Shaniff, developed trouble right out here in front of the judges' stand, and so as a result will not be able to participate. So we have 6 boats ready to go into this race, and we will have 3 heats, all boats going for points in all 3 heats. In just a few moments, we'll have the running of Heat 1. But now, a few words from our sponsor. Miss Bardo, Stretch Crest 3, all of the boats are shaping up in the south turn, which I will call the left turn. I notice looks to be the Miss Detroit with Chuck Thompson driving, come down and inside. In the number 2 lane next to him is Miss Bardo and Miroslavek raising a tail and coming fast. Next to him in number 3 slot is Such Crest 3 with Bud Saley coming quickly up on the inside. In the number 4 lane is Miss US with Donnie Wilson driving. On the outside is Breathless 2. Donnie Wilson was across the line first, followed by Miss Detroit and Miss Bardo. The Miss Detroit is powered by an Allison engine. They are neck and neck. Donnie Wilson of the Miss US just goes by Miss Detroit. He's running very well. I haven't seen the Miss US run this good in a long, long time. That back chute is a little rough. It's windy, too. They are running into the south, the wind at 12 miles per hour, coming out of the south. Donnie Wilson cuts into that entrance pin to that south turn quickly, moving well, keeping the boat speed up. The tail is high. About 250 feet behind him is Miss Detroit with Chuck Thompson driving. And as a result of the racing activities in Heat 1 here on the Potomac River for the President's Cup race, Miss US won with Donnie Wilson driving, ended up with 400 points towards the President's Cup. Miss Detroit, being driven very capably by Chuck Thompson, ended up with 300 points. Breathless 2 coming in third, ended up with 224 points, and right behind him, the Wild Root Charlie, driven by Bob Schroeder, came in with 169. Followed by Bardo, who ended up with 127 points for his 5th place finish, and Such Crest running last, ended up with 95 points. This is still anybody's boat race. So, going into the second heat, we have the same boat, Miss US, Miss Detroit, Breathless 2, Wild Root Charlie, and Bardo, and Such Crest. And in a moment, the running of Heat 2. However, a word from our sponsor.
The third Thriftway was designed by Ted Jones and built by the Thriftway crew, and that is the ultimate round-nosed, Merlin-powered Ted Jones hydroplane. He pulled out all the stops, and he did things on that boat that hadn't been done before, and really things that weren't done again for many, many years. The boat has an S-bottom to it. The S-bottom gave it a lot more lift and a lot better acceleration. It also had sponsons. If you look at it carefully, it didn't have those nice, smooth, rounded sponsons like all the other Jones boats. It had shingled sponsons. It had 3 flat angles. That was 1959. The next time you saw that on a hydroplane was 1979 when Ted's son Ron built the Griffin Budweiser. The Thriftway boat was way ahead of its time, and it was the dominant boat.
During that time frame, Bill Muncey had made an agreement with some guys from Canada that used to run cracker boxes. And they wanted some marine equipment that he had, a gearbox and some other related stuff. And they agreed to build him a cracker box in trade for this equipment. And it was through that relationship that I met him. So a few weeks after that, I was out working on my boat out at Joe McMahon's, and I came home and my mother said, "Oh, you had a telephone call while you were gone." And I said, "Well, what's that all about?" She said, "Well, Bill Muncey called." "Oh, what Bill Muncey want?" "Bill Muncey called me, you know." So, yeah, it was him, and he wants you to call him back. So I called over there, and he said, "Well, I'm forming up a little limited racing group." And he said, "There's Joe Lewis and myself." And he said, "I wondered if you'd be interested in joining us and going racing with us." Of course, I said no. No. Yeah, I'll be there. We were constantly down at Associated because we were running the limited boats, and Associated had all the tools and all the talent to weld this, bend this, drill this, do that. We'd go down there and build trailers and one thing and another for the limited boats. And so I knew all of those Thriftway guys, but I actually was never, ever on the team. But when they'd run here in Seattle, and one time I went with them over to Coeur d'Alene. And one time I went with them to Chelan. I wasn't really ever on the team. It was just kind of like, "Why don't you come with us this weekend?"
Now they're beginning to come down. Muncey has got better boat speed than the Bardol. As he comes down, he evidently has absolute assurance he's going to be up on that line. And his boat is leaping. He's right next door to Bardol, and it looks like it'll be a 1-2 boat race as they come down here. Muncey looks like he's losing it a little bit. His boat is flying. He's literally out of the air. They're coming down there, Bardol, and here we go. Fair start. Bill Muncey and Jack Reagan, the Thriftway and the Bardol, going into the north turn on the first time around. Nitrogen was last across the line. As they go into that turn for the first of 5 times around the course, Bardol is on the inside corner, and there we go, Thriftway on the outside corner now as he starts to take Bardol. Muncey is going to the outside. He thinks he can take Bardol on the outside. Now they're dead even coming off the exit buoy at the 2-boat race, and Bardol is lagging back a little on the acceleration as Muncey pours the coal to Miss Thriftway and starts to move away from Bardol. They're halfway up the backstretch in the first of 5 times around the course. And it looks like Muncey might have lost her a little bit coming off the exit buoy, and he loses a little ground to Bardol, who in turn loses a little bit, and that's a red-hot duel still in there as 4 boats are closely bunched and the nitrogen is trailing. Down to the 1,000-foot mark comes the Miss Thriftway, with Bill Muncey at the wheel, closely followed by Jack Regas and the Bardol. Here's the big duel that everybody's been looking for between these 2 top-rated jockeys. At the 1,000-foot mark at the end of lap number 1. Here comes Muncey over the line of Miss Thriftway. Bardol is second. She is 4 seconds behind. Miss Spokane is third. Here is Bill Muncey and Miss Thriftway going down into the right turn, closely pursued by Jack Regas in Miss Bardol. Spokane is third across the line at the end of lap number 2. 106 miles an hour for Thriftway at the end of lap number 2. Now they come off the exit buoy as Miss Spokane, 19 seconds behind the leader, completes their 4th lap. Bardol goes to the outside corner, and Muncey comes off real hard on that exit buoy in his 5th time around the course. And Bardol gives ground. Made his bid in the 3rd and 4th lap. Now he falls back a little bit. The Miss Pay and Save comes across the line. She looks like she's a little bit sick. She's 38 seconds behind the leader at the end of her 4th lap. Muncey and Miss Thriftway is on the inside corner. Regas and Bardol goes to the outside, and let's see if he can come up on him. He's trying real hard. There's about less than 2 boat lengths. Here comes Regas. He's pouring it on. It's going to be real close. He could take him. He might have caught Muncey by surprise. Regas coming on now, and it's going to be real close. Muncey gets across the line. Bill Muncey and Miss Thriftway gets across the line less than a boat length in front of Jack Regas in the Miss Bardol.
Bill ran a number of different limited boats and classes while he was running unlimiteds. He had the Thrifty Chevalier was one, the Nifty Thrifty was another. oh gosh, there were a whole number of boats. And he and Myra Slovak would race together. Myra had a boat called the Wee Wahoo. And it was very common to go to a Region 10 race out at Lake Sammamish and see Myra Slovak and Bill Muncey, fighting it out.
They're up there real hard. There's the gun. There's the start. Miss Spokane first across the line on the inside corner. Breathless was last across, and the Wahoo is still sitting dead off the pit area. Miss US was last across the line. Into the right-hand corner now come those boats. Let's take a look at them. That's Miss Spokane on the inside corner. Here comes Norm. He's staying down tight to that buoy. Muncey goes to the outside in Miss Thriftway and still can't pick up too much ground as Norm in Miss Spokane gives her a tremendous ride. Muncey seems a little slow in acceleration coming off the corner. Down to the 1,000-foot mark in first place, Miss Spokane. End of lap number 2. Spokane is leading. Thriftway comes over the line now in second place. And we go into the latter part of the 5th lap, and the Miss Thriftway is coming up real hard on the Miss Spokane. Looks like he might be able to pass him if he keeps on the way he's going. Meanwhile, the Gale 6 limps across the line. Muncey in Miss Thriftway going to the outside now. As he comes back, and they'll be virtually dead even, as Norm Evans cuts across now and drops his rooster tail and cuts Bill off and shoves him out. And Muncey goes to the outside, and boy, if I know Muncey, he'll really be steaming on that one. Miss Thriftway coming to the outside now, and Billy really sticks on it now, as Norm Evans and he are virtually even at the end of the 5th lap. Muncey goes by him as they go down to the south corner. Here they are, as they move to the south corner. Muncey on the outside, Miss Spokane on the inside, as Bill Muncey comes to the outside now, and they are virtually dead even going into that south corner. Norm let his boat drift wide and cut Bill off and shoved him over to the side. And Norm Evans holds off the challenge as they go through the south corner. In this, their 6th time around the course. This is an exact duplicate of their duel over there at Coeur d'Alene. Muncey coming now on the straightaway, moving on very slowly but surely, and this time hoping to be able to get in there and to be able to cut over. The Thriftway moves out of the 3/4 point of the backstretch. Now Muncey is on the outside still, and he must have more boat room in order to cut over on him. Muncey now begins to move away, and Miss Thriftway in the top part of that turn. This is going to be close. The Gale 6 moves to the outside. They'll be lapping by these 2 boats as Muncey drives down on him and cuts him off and drives him inside. The 2 of them virtually dead even, and the Miss Spokane looked like she hit the buoy over there. Muncey in Miss Thriftway comes down now, about 2 boat lengths out in front. At the end of the 6th lap, Thriftway is out in front. Wahoo, dead in the water. And the top place boat coming off the north corner, coming down now past the exit buoy. Muncey chopping down now and saving as much time as he can, getting ready to get the finish line on the checkered flag. Coming down to the 1,000-foot mark. He had 107 miles an hour around for the last time. Here he comes, 500 feet away from the end of lap number 10 for your winner of E2A, Bill Muncey and Miss Thriftway. Muncey is coming up real hard now in Miss Thriftway between boats. Chuck Thompson is on the inside in Miss Detroit, and here they come, all even. Last across the line, and 5 of them are right up on the line. A good start, a perfect start, great start. 5 of them are right up on the line, and the Miss Thriftway came up hard in between boats and could be in good position as one of the boats is down in the water already now, just about 3/4 of the way down the inland straight. 3/4 of the way up the backstretch. We have the Miss Bardall going clear out of the water by the Detroit Yacht Club. She's closely pursued by Gale 5, who's in 2nd place. Meanwhile, Miss Thriftway is fighting it out with the Miss Detroit. Both boys seem to be a little bit sick in their engine performance. The Bardall, moving very beautifully now, starts to move away halfway up the backstretch, moving away from Gale 5, driven by Bill Cantrell. At the 3/4 mark of the backstretch, Bill Brow, a very talented pilot, moves into the 3/4 mark of the backstretch. And the Miss Thriftway is having trouble and is down in the water and limping, just moving along very slowly as the rest of the field passes her, and she'll be last. In 3rd place is the Miss Buffalo, and now Muncey has the Miss Thriftway hopping again, and he's in 4th place. Nitrogen is in 5th. As the Muncey starts to make his drive now and goes by the Miss Detroit halfway up the backstretch in his 5th and final time around the course. Muncey and Miss Thriftway has taken over, driving without a tailfin, has now moved to the 3/4 mark of the backstretch. And He's going to go past the Miss Detroit. After Detroit Club, he does. He's out in front now by about a second and a half, about 500 feet. And he's moving through the eastern area on his fifth and final time around the course. Unofficially, we understand that Bill Muncey hit the number 9 buoy. Here comes the Barlow. She's running in last place. She's a lap behind the leader. Muncey comes down now for second place. Driving without a tail fin, Bill Muncey.
When they built the 59 boat, to the average Joe fan, it looked just like the 58 boat. It had the same profile, same colors. The only real difference is that the 58 boat had the Miss written in script letters, and the 59 boat had the Miss written in block letters. Well, towards the end of the 59 season, they're back in Detroit, and Muncey hit some really, really rough water, and the tail cowling pops off. It bounces off the boat, and when it hits the water, it's damaged. Well, they run the rest of that race with no tail cowling, or no tail fin, and then when they recovered the tail fin, the back of it, where the little scallop was, is damaged. So they cut that off with a saw and put on a triangular piece of plywood, and that changes the shape of the boat. Also, since it's been damaged, they have to repaint it. They paint it white, and they use that white, damaged and repaired tail fin for the rest of the history of the boat. But it gave it a very distinctive look that people think of as, you know, that Thriftway look. And from then on, it was very easy to tell the difference between the 58 boat and the 59 boat.
Bill Muncey is going out to attempt to set a new mile record for propeller-driven craft, a record held by Hawaii Kai, driven by Jack Regas. He will do it over the measured miles set up in the run here at the East Channel Waterway at Lake Washington. The last time that a run was made successfully in this area was done by Stan Sayers when he set a record of 178 miles an hour with 2 runs through the trap. One, if I remember correctly, at around 194 miles an hour, and the other at about 165, averaging out to 178 miles an hour. He's hitting at a pretty good clip going up through from the south to north end of the course. This is merely a survey of the course, and he'll go up underneath the bridge and be ready to go. He has set 2 outstanding records in his unlimited career. In addition to winning the coveted Gold Cup in 2 consecutive years, 56 and 57, he set the current world record for a 15-mile heat in an unlimited hydroplane. In 1957, in September, he established the record of 112.312 miles an hour in the Governor's Cup race at Madison, Indiana. He works for the Associated Grocer Group, which is headed up by Willard Rhodes, and he works in public relations. He also has other interests, and he also has other limited driving interests. This right turn as he comes onto the bridge is a tremendous thing. Now you see Muncey coming under the bridge and getting up a fine head of steam, judging by his rooster tail. And in a moment here on a 100-inch lens, you'll see the boat directly coming down through the test trap, looking for the mile record and the kilometer record. So let's see whether or not Bill Muncey is able to make this one a successful go. He was unsuccessful in his earlier effort today at 177 miles an hour for the mile and 180.2 for the kilometer test. Now let's see what he achieves as he approaches the beginning of the north side of the test run area. Here you see him going past our hilltop camera, and his boat seems to be performing very nicely, and he's moving into the trap. He is now actually in the trap, and you'll see how light that nose is and riding very firmly on the water. Ted Jones, the designer, tells us that between 175 and 185, the wind created by the boat at that speed takes over, and then past 185, you have the action of the water being a very important thing, which is why the course must be regular in its working element as far as the water itself is concerned. Here comes Bill Muncey through the south part of the test trap area, and we will attempt to get an unofficial time for you just as soon as we can. He is nearing the end of his run and coming here to the run-out area just in front of us at Kennydale, and has come down off the top end of his speed. 191 on the mile and evidently 191 on the kilometer, unofficially. That's the way we've heard it in listening secondhand to Jim McGinnis talking with Jim Sterrett. Bill Muncey on a south to north run, taking a time of 191 miles an hour, and he has a couple of miles to get up a good head of steam in order to get into that trap area going from south to north. So here he comes, moving real hard and getting into the test area right at this moment, and has his boat up where he wants it. The boat is behaving very nicely. Seems to be very solid. and has just entered the trap. And the rooster tail maintains a full, steady line of sight to us standing down here at Kennydale. And as you watch on your screen, you'll notice the boat is behaving beautifully, and Bill seems to have things well underhand. Jim McGinnis is getting ready to take down the time for both the kilometer and the mile. You'll see him disappear from view underneath the bridge. His test run will have been completed, and Jim McGinnis will be able to give us the time as produced by the timers on the test run here in the East Channel Waterway. 192.513. So he has a new record in the mile, and for the kilometer, 187 going from south to north. So there is not a new record in the kilometer, but there is a new record in the mile at roughly 192 miles an hour. Split the difference between 191 and 192, and you have the establishment of a new record for the mile by Bill Muncey in the Miss Thriftway. Here you see Bill Muncey with a new record in his hand in the Miss Thriftway, who in this year of 1960 gets himself off to a booming good start with a new record in the mile at 192 miles an hour unofficially, 192.001. 191 from north to south, a little over 192 miles an hour from south to north. Bill Muncey coming here to the boat area of Ted Jones' home at Kennydale at the south part of Lake Washington. Kit, suppose you drop by here. Yes, let's talk to Kit Muncey. Kit, how do you feel about the run? Were you excited?
It's not exciting. I'm glad it's over.
This is, the thing that impressed me is very quiet, very calm, very matter of fact. Tell me, how was Bill just before the run? Could you notice any particular sign of tension?
He's nervous.
Yes.
He was very tense, I think.
Did he sleep well last night?
Well, all 2 hours of it.
That's, in other words, that's normal, isn't it, for him before?
Well, this is worse than a race.
Yes.
It's much worse. The tension is greater.
Of course, he still has the tension now, looking for 200 miles an hour, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. He's still got that hang over his head. But I think he's pretty happy right now.
What about you? How do you bear up under it?
Fine.
How are the youngsters, including the latest?
Everybody's just fine.
Thank you very much, Kit. It's been nice talking with you.
Nice talking to you.
Kit Muncey, and let's talk with Bill Muncey. Bill,
hello, William.
Congratulations, my friend. Step over here. Let everybody see on the... You're a young man with a new record. Tell me, how do you feel about it?
Oh, gee, I'm happy, real happy. I'd like to have done a lot better, Bill, but under the circumstances, we've been test running out here, and we didn't know just exactly where they were going to set the mile up, so we didn't know how fast we had to come under the bridge. So I've been coming under the bridge about 110, figuring, well, I can hit the chute good 200. Well, golly sakes, I did that today. I was only doing 170 when I got there, so I picked it up this time about 10 miles an hour, close to 15 coming this way, and I was able to hit the chute at about 180, 185, and I came out at the end of the chute, I was doing a little over 200, which gave me the average.
Any trouble with the boat or with the water conditions?
No, the water conditions good. Coming into the wind, here's my boy. Coming into the wind, it got a little hairy. One time there, boat got a little light. And but other than that, everything was fine. The boat was handling well. I got a little vibration problem.
What about 200 miles an hour?
Gee, well, we're going to talk about it. I'd like to get there.
You must have gone over 200, though, sometime in the course, didn't you?
Oh, I figured I'd come out. I was doing about 204, 203, something like that. Because I didn't get into the chute fast enough.
Did the tape work out for you?
Yeah, kept the goggles in my head. The first time with it just like a vacuum, just sucked them right off. And so we came in and put the tape on and no trouble.
What about the kilometer record? You think maybe this afternoon, or you just...
Well, the boss and I are going to talk it over, and along with Ted Jones and Jack Ramsey, and we'll think about it. I have a little vibration problem, and if we could come up with something that could solve that, I'd be a little happier about it. I like the kilometers up there at an average speed of around 195, and that's pretty quick. I'd like to go through both directions at around 200 if I could, and I'm a little afraid right at this point to do it with the rudder I've got.
Bill, you said this was a once-in-a-lifetime proposition for a young man. Do you still feel that way?
Well, once we're through with this series of running, Bill, I'll never again ever go through for a world record ever. I don't know. I'm a young man, I guess, sir. It's just a little too much. I couldn't take it again.
This might be your last year of racing?
Oh, no. I don't think I'm through racing or driving, but as far as world record tries are concerned, I don't think I'll ever be interested in trying again.
I was working with him then when that happened, and he was not happy about having to go and do it. The bottom line was it was getting kind of scary going that fast. And it's not only going fast, but you got to go fast for a long time to go through the mile. So the mile is just a part of it. So from start up until you turn around again at the other end, it's kind of a shaky jake operation. So anyway, they wanted to do that, and he did do it, and he remarked several times that well, we get this done, I'm not going to do this again.